Thank you. I call the member for Cabalaba.
Mr Speaker, thank you. I rise to offer my wholehearted support for the Youth Justice Monitoring Devices Amended Bill 2025, and I would like to commend the work of my fellow Justice, Integrity and Community Safety Committee members throughout the scrutinisation process. And I'll speak to the chamber as an adult. I would also like to thank those stakeholders who made the submissions on this important community proposal. My support of the bill reaffirms this government's commitment to ending the generation of untouchable repeat offenders that were emboldened during the previous decade of chaos, crisis and watered-down laws from those opposite. The aim of this bill is a straightforward one: to extend the trial of electronic monitoring devices, EMDs, for young offenders for a further 12 months, so effectiveness of this initiative can be properly evaluated. The trial of the EMDs on youth offenders to date have not been broad enough to give the Department of Youth Justice a chance to accurately evaluate the effectiveness of this program, with several different amendments being passed since the initial 2021 introduction of Section 52AA to the Youth Justice Act. The LNP raised these concerns from the beginning, which went unheard, and we saw an abysmal failure in those initial trials. We even saw the Police Commissioner speak out about the abject failure of the trials in an embarrassment incident for the former government, which prompted a further amendment in August 2024. However, there was never going to be enough time to evaluate the amendments of August 2024, as the trial was set to expire less than a year later. We promised Queenslanders that we will do whatever it takes to turn the tide on Labor's youth crime crisis, and genuinely evaluation of the available resources is an integral part of that process. The Christodoulou government has been unequivocal that we would end the culture of fear and intimidation within the public service, and we're doing just that by listening to frank and fearless advice received from our public servants. The Director-General and the Department have been clear that this extension of the trial period will be sufficient and is necessary for them to provide the Parliament with the comprehensive advice. EMDs can help reduce the burden on our QPS officers in conducting bail checks on youth offenders, as the compliance is able to be monitored electronically via GPS. At a time when we are striving to turn the tide on Labor's youth crime crisis, we must give our police all the tools they need to do their jobs effectively, as well as support them by bolstering numbers of new recruits. I was delighted to see recently the largest graduating class of police officers in the state's history, and I offer my profound gratitude for those who put their hands up to take the job. I know what it's like to be part of a police family. It has been encouraging to see that there are early indications that the implementation of the MDs applies downward pressure on the reoffending rate of young offenders, and I look forward to seeing the full findings upon completion of the trial period. It's important to bear in mind that throughout the trial, EMDs are not operating as a standalone measure, but are working alongside the Christodoulou government's $485 million investment into youth crime prevention and youth offender rehabilitation. This significant investment is a cornerstone of our plan to tackle young crime that Queenslanders have backed resoundingly and seeks to prevent crime before it happens, as well as turn around the lives of young offenders before they be turned into hardened criminals. Another key element that lies into this bill is the introduction of breach of bail as an offence, which was a measure long championed by the Liberal National Party, and we're already hearing that EMDs can play a key role in enforcing of bail conditions, while we also alleviate pressure on frontline police. Communities have been inundated with youth crime and have been calling out for more to be done and more support for the hard-working police officers who are doing a stellar job in combating youth crime. Among the trial sites for EMDs is a city at the forefront of youth crime crisis, Cairns, where we know QPS resources are already stretched thin. In their submission, Cairns Regional Council advised that EMDs will serve as a proactive tool to reduce reoffending while allowing police tacticians to allocate resources more effectively. They also said that there's a significant burden on the ratepayers' funds from the council, with the crews having to remedy graffiti and other forms of vandalism, and they firmly believe that monitoring youth offenders on bail can curb the incidence of vandalism and other antisocial behaviour. We delivered the Making Queensland Safer laws before Christmas last year, just as promised Queenslanders at the election. And I know that residents in my electorate of Capalaba have had enough of the homes being invaded, cars stolen, people assaulted, and seeing the same offenders running riot after being released on bail. This week, we introduced more than a dozen additional offences to adult time legislation on the advice of the expert legal panel in order to strengthen those laws further. This bill before the House is another step in the process of unwinding a decade of weak laws, and certainly won't be the last step either. I'm proud to be a part of the Christopher Early government that is committed and laser focused on improving the building these steps so we can drive down victim numbers in the state. I urge the House to support this bill because we must continue to take strong action on youth crime. Queenslanders have made it abundantly clear that serious repeat offenders cannot be allowed to continue reoffending. I personally got a bit of a fair idea what is required, and is why I put my hand up to represent the people of Capalaba. And it's clear community sentiment that is why so many voters across the state place their trust in this government. This is an issue we must address head on, and this government will not shy away from that fact. Thank you.